Let's get into the misery of the left. We talk about it a lot, but to put a finer point on it, we want to bring in an expert, somebody who's studied them with intensity. And he's taken his findings, he's bound them together in a book, and it's now being sold everywhere. It's called Liberal Misery, How the Hateful Left Sucks Joy Out of Everything and Everyone. Ain't that the truth? Eddie Scarry joins us now, the author of that book. Hello, Eddie.
Hey, Vince. Happy to be here.
Great to have you here, sir. So you've decided on this topic, and to be honest with you, I think people do wonder, why is it that our fellow Americans on the American left have such a deep and evident sense of misery all the time about everything? Where did that come from?
Why they have it, I cannot quite explain. What I can say is it is a natural predisposition that they have. This is the natural state of liberals. And I don't want to say all liberals. However, if you are a miserable person, the chances are that you are a liberal. And that is proven in my book, Liberal Misery. I didn't know that this would happen, actually. When I had the idea for the book, I kept thinking to myself throughout 2020, because I think that was when I really got keyed into, and I live in Washington, D.C., so it's all liberals all the time that I'm around. But I noticed in that year in particular, though I guess I had some faint understanding of it, probably going back since 2015, that there was this anger, this bitterness, this also willingness of liberals to insert themselves into conversations, to openly express their disdain for conservative ideas, differing opinions, anything that, because you can even just be an independent, well-meaning, fairly apolitical person, but if you disagree with a liberal, they will let you know. And they will make you feel very, very uncomfortable. But what I was surprised to find was that there was all this data, all these surveys, all these studies, wherein self-identified liberals professed, so this is them saying themselves, that they are unhappy people. They are unhappy in I'm telling you, this gets really astonishing when you read the book. It's in the very first chapter for all your listeners, very first chapter. So if you get the book for one reason, it's for that one alone. You read the very first chapter, you find that in every single facet of life, liberals are more likely than independents and conservatives, right-leaning people, to say that they're unhappy. That goes for even their marriage. It goes for the jobs that they have. It goes for where they live in the country. They tend to be more likely to block someone on social media if they didn't like what they said. They don't, if they're parents, they don't want their child, they express like some discomfort with their child marrying someone who has different opinions. They don't want to sit at lunch with these people. That's how granular I get in this book. It's very, very, very detailed about just how unhappy, discontent, antisocial, maladjusted liberals are in this country.
I think we all know this instinctively. I think no matter where you come from politically, you can hear what Eddie's saying, and he's right about it. You don't have to look at a study. If I was to ask you just blindly, who's more anxious? Who has more anxiety? Is it conservatives or liberals? Like, what the answer is. Like, who's more self-satisfied? Who has a sense of self-worth? Is it conservatives or liberals? You know what the answer is. You know what that is. Who's more tolerant? Is it the left or the right? And, of course, you do know what the answer is, although we're often told that it's the left that's the tolerant side and that the right is so bigoted. But that is, in and of itself, Eddie, obviously a form of projection, no?
Oh, for sure. I mean, and I think that was really what motivated me to write this book, was that there's this idea out there that right-leaning and independent, I think the independent Americans have been implicated in this whole thing, but right-leaning people, conservatives, Republicans, are the killjoys, the ones who show up to the party and shut it down. No. It is the exact opposite. It's the exact opposite, and people feel that, just as you were saying, inherently feel it. The surprising thing to me was that I found all these studies and surveys of liberals admitting that they're the first ones to pop off, the ones who get angry at someone who expresses a different opinion. And we're seeing it right now. I would say this is like the perfect timing for this topic, because what's going on with the Supreme Court and the decision they made, the narrative that existed right up until Friday this past Friday was that conservatives, Republicans, and Trump supporters were the threat to democracy. Well, now liberals are actually the ones out and out saying, what are laws for? We don't need laws. I don't know why. What are we dealing with this for? What's the Supreme Court for? They don't have an army to enforce this decision they made about an abortion. Who cares?
Right.
So, the inherent, yes, as you were saying, we inherently believe this stuff. But as I write in my book, Liberal Misery, there is so much data out there that I did not know about, and I'm sure many people did not know about, that exists where they have already been saying this all along. They are the miserable people. They are the everything, as you were saying, projection. They are everything that they say that people on our side have been.
Sure. And if I was to react to every news event with a bunch of uninformed screeching, I'd be pretty embarrassed about it, actually. But that doesn't seem to exist on the left. It's like right in the wake of Roe v. Wade being overturned this past week. There's all these claims that a constitutional right was taken away. No, the court said that such a constitutional right never was found. In fact, that the decision was wrongly made. But that didn't stop them. They were lying about that. They were lying about, women who experience ectopic pregnancies are not going to be able to have the baby dislodged, and therefore they will die. And none of that is true. None of that's true. Abortion is not banned in the United States now as a result of this decision on Friday. It's just the lies are out there, but the people who express them are rewarded with applause from the group that they are in. So it's almost like a misery feedback loop. No, it's like where you express views in order to signal to your side that you have the right opinions. That's why you attack conservatives and express your displeasure. You're really trying to win plaudits from the people you run, whose circles you're in.
Oh, for sure. And the idea that you just said that they're not even embarrassed by it. They're not at all ashamed to spread this whole. That's why I titled it Misery, because misery spreads. Misery enjoys company. That's why that's a phrase. That's how liberals have been operating, and I would say it's just getting worse and worse and worse. We saw it. I would say when I first identified it was going back to 2015, but for sure in 2020 it's not going to change because they saw that it worked in 2020. It was turn up the dial on COVID, make everyone hysterical about COVID. It was let's force every small business owner to board up their small businesses, their window shops, because you know what, if things don't go our way, we're going to show you something. And so we're just seeing another extension of that. And that's why I wrote this book, Liberal Misery, because the way they're operating, this is not going away. And people, I think that people are kind of coming to understand it, just looking at the polls and how people plan on voting come the midterms. But understand that this is not going away.
Something else that the pandemic exposed is how neurotic people on the left are. They're very scared of a lot of things. They seem like they're very desperately clinging to their mortality. And so when a government official, when Anthony Fauci comes along and suggests that people need to wear a mask, you saw people out there double masking, like screaming at people in public who weren't wearing masks, who were standing outside. What is that? Where does that come from? That, this kind of reflexive obedience, this performative obedience?
I think that neuroses is the right word for it. There is a lot of neuroses on the left, but I actually touch on this exact subject in Liberal Misery, is that there is this compulsion to an aversion, I would say, an aversion to independence and people doing what they want to do. Liberals and Democrats hate that. That's why they hate the middle class so much, because they get to do what they want to do. I actually think about holding a picture in front of a liberal Democrat. Here's a picture of, like a monster or a spider or something. And then here's a picture of a nice family riding a boat. And I want to know which one scares them more. And I think I can bet it's the boat. They do not like the idea of a middle class that gets to do fun things, nice things, without their permission, without their say-so. So I think that there is this neuroses and this anxiety about, yes, they felt that during the pandemic and they were hyper aware of illness and virus, whatnot. But I think even more so what really drove them, and I'm sure if you didn't experience it, I'd be really surprised, but I can tell you I did. I got it here. I got it in Chicago. People barking at me about the mask. And I'm not talking about the first 3 months of the pandemic. I'm talking about, like November 2021,
yes.
where they were still screaming at me about masks, and they got so upset that you were not compliant or obedient. There is just this compulsion on the left, among liberals, among Democrats, to tell people what to do. And the fact that you're not listening and the fact that you're living an independent life, they really, really hate that. And that's just, again, a part of the perpetual misery that they feel.
Well, it's what you're describing is an authoritarian impulse. It's one that says that everything around me needs to be controlled. People can't be guided by free will. This is why they're so fearful of civilians owning guns, and they don't bat an eye at the idea that government officials are protected by armed guards. Because at its core, it's about control. It's about I can't let some independent citizen make judgment calls about their own protection, but the government, they're in charge. They can do what they want.
For sure, exactly. And the other idea I think behind that is this hierarchy. They believe there is this hierarchy. We're on the side of the state. We're on the side of control and government. So we get to do things. And you saw that throughout. Speaking of COVID, you saw it all throughout COVID. Was all these people, all these Democrats, liberals, it was 100% liberals and Democrats who would institute a blanket rule for everyone, shut down your business, wear a mask wherever you go. And then they're out having parties, they're going to restaurants, they're going to galas, having a nice time, having a real fun time themselves.
Yeah.
And yet they're telling everyone, stay inside, don't worry, we'll send you a check, but don't worry about your hopes and dreams, everything you built your life around. We'll take care of it. Just stay inside and enjoy Netflix. We're going to go to the gala. We're going to go to the Met Gala or whatever it is in New York. You stay at home and wear your mask, maybe 2 masks, maybe 3. The idea of a hierarchy that is totally central to the left. And again, if you don't comply, if you're not listening, if you're not following their orders, they are going to make your life just as miserable as theirs.
Yeah, they prefer hierarchies, and then they preach equity. Lastly, Eddie, to what extent do you think social media has accelerated all of this misery?
I would say, well, one, there's this interesting fact in the book. I don't know if I mentioned it already, is that the left, liberals, Democrats they say they are more likely to block someone on social media if they saw something they didn't like.
Yeah.
They'll unfriend somebody, mute them, any of the above. To what extent did it accelerate it? I'm sure it did, like everything else. But the somewhat good thing about that is that we're all now seeing it firsthand. We're all now saying to one another, like you and I are now, hey, you've noticed this, right? This is the tendency of a particular type of person.
Yes.
They might have been family, they might have been friends, no longer. So we're all actually we're able to view it in real time, and that's a good thing.
Yeah. In
the sense that we're able to shut it down, hopefully, as we watch it happen.
Yeah, I feel honestly, as you describe it, I feel bad for them because they should be freed from that. They shouldn't have to be made to feel neurotic, and they shouldn't be obedient to all these forces that are trying to bring them to heel, and yet unfortunately they are in so many cases. Eddie Scarry from the Federalist and the author of the book Liberal Misery: How the Hateful Left Sucks Joy Out of Everything and Everyone. Pick it up. Eddie's a smart guy. Eddie, thank you very much.
Thanks so much, man.
Just Getting Started with Susie Schuster has stories of humble beginnings and humbling moments from inspiring people. Modern Family's Eric Stone Street.
They get a lot of ice here, sorry.
That's all right. If you're going to make a cocktail, I will join you for one.
Yeah, it's good cocktail ice. I'm an ice person. I have crushed ice for just like soft drinks and water, and then I have the Bell Ice for more of a cocktail.
I've never felt closer to you than I do right now.
I love ice.
The new Just Getting Started with Susie Schuster. Listen wherever you get your podcasts.